everyone. Um, this is Junk Journaling 101 supplies and some vocabulary and just kind of an introduction. So my name is JJ, which could get confusing. My YouTube name and not my YouTube name, my Facebook name is Joy J Meyer, which is actually my name, but everybody calls me JJ. But I can see how that might get confusing with junk journaling because everybody calls junk journaling JJ. So, or whatnot. So, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've already introduced myself on the group, but I am disabled, so sometimes I will be talking to somebody else who is my mother. She helps me out, and so I do require assistance to get some stuff and stuff like that. But hopefully we can make the videos where everybody can learn something. So I don't want everybody to actually do the same thing unless you all want to do the same thing. So if you want to make the same type of journal, that's fine. If you want to make different ones, or if there's different techniques or anything like that that you want to learn, I want you to be able to learn what you want to learn, because you'll be a better student that way. If we actually do something that excites us, that we want to learn about, then we're more apt to actually follow through with it. And that's the point of this 3-month course, is to follow through and make a journal and learn the basics and then graduate from there. So, and that's basically how everybody learned, is that we all learned and we all started out in one area, and then we just branched out from there. From that. And I've been making journals for 10 years, I think it is. At least 10 years from that. And I started out making Zetter Bind It All journals, which is this little ring type journal here. And then it comes together back here with a book board, front and back cover, and then pages in between. Basic book. I still have this machine, so if anybody wants to do a book like this, I can definitely show you how to do a book like this. The nice thing about junk journaling is any book works. Any binding method works. Any material, we can make it work with anything. So it doesn't have to be, you know, the specific, you know, this type of needle, this type of cutter, this type of board. You have to buy this, you have to buy that. None of that. You use what you have and you make something beautiful out of something that somebody would have thrown away. And that's the point of junk journaling. We'll just go ahead and get into some defining and some vocabulary a little bit. To me, junk journaling is just that, making something out of something that someone would have thrown away. I think when junk journaling first started out, it was taking envelopes you got in the mail, magazines, bills, receipts, envelopes that you received, I think I already said that, putting them together into some sort of art journal, painting the papers, covering it, making it pretty, making it usable, those type of things. To me, as you get into more of, say, maybe digital kits, and I've used a number of digital kits, as you use digital kits, those are more theme-based journals. And I think of them as more of eclectic journals. Even though they can still be classified as junk journals, they still, to me, they're not junk. They're very, very pretty. It's not stuff that I would just look at and go, oh, I'm going to throw it away, you know, where I would with something that you receive in the mail that you don't want anymore. So so that's basically the items that I'm going to be using, is just items that you could very easily, you know, thrown into the recycle bin and gotten rid of them. And then I'm going to make a journal out of that. So that's going to be my journal. I haven't decided if I'm going to do hardbound or if I'm going to do soft cover. I'll get into those as we get into the cover materials from that. But like I said, I do have a Zetter Bind It All machine, and so I'd be happy to show you this binding method. I always find it best to choose your binding method. Like, what do you want to work with, and then pick your materials from that. But what we're going to start with is I'm going to show you the materials that you can use for your covers. I'm going to show you the materials that you can use for sewing, like hand sewing and items like that. What you'll need to make a signature. A signature is a group of papers folded together and then a bunch of those stacked together to make a book block, and I'll explain all that. And then we'll also explore the different binding methods. So Zutter, and then with hardbound books and hand sewn, there's glued, there's ribbon bindings, there's binder rings, those little binder ring. I don't have any of those, I don't think, available right now. The little binder rings that pull apart and then you put them together, and so you can punch holes and do them that way. Some people have tied ribbon on them. They're real cute that way. So there's different methods with that. So we'll go through those things, and then we'll hopefully you'll have some questions. Hopefully I'll answer some of your questions during this. And then of course, if you have any questions at all, I know it's not easy because it's not live, but I'm hoping that I can figure out how to do live, and then maybe we can communicate back and forth instantly with questions and whatnot, and I can teach my mom how to help us with that maybe. But anyway, I'm also going to go over the types of glues that there are, and what I have found works best for me. So, and I'll explain that too. So, okay, let's get into this, because if I talk too much, then you guys are going to go to sleep, and then that's not going to be effective for you or me. So, let's see. Okay, let's go over some of a hardcover, between a hardcover or softcover, a TN, Traveler's Notebook, Coptic stitch, altered book. So, okay, so when we're talking about an altered book, we talked about the Zutter one. So now let's talk about an altered book. An altered book is a book that's already put together that has signatures in it. Each one of these pages is in a signature, and they are put together to form this book block. Okay? An altered book is where you take this book, and sometimes you'll have to remove pages from it, because as you start adding things to it, it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and pretty soon you're here, so your book doesn't shut anymore. So to relieve some of that pressure from the spine, because it can break the spine as well if it gets too thick, then you would remove some of the pages and then glue some of them together and then alter them, put pockets on them, tags on them, that type of stuff. With that. So an altered book is basically a book that's already been put together. You're taking it and you're changing the form. You're changing how it's basically what the inside looks like. You're changing the cover. You're altering the cover. And not all the covers are going to be this nice. Not all of them are going to be this new. This was I think a dollar store book or a free book or something that we had found. So one thing that you do have to consider, though, if you want to take this book and completely gut the book, so you want to take this out of it completely, you want to make sure you're looking for a spine that is not glued. Now, the new books like these, they tend to be all glued. But I take a palette knife. This is just a painting palette knife, and I run it down in here. If I can shove it down in there and get it down in there, move it back and forth, that means that this paper on the outside is not glued to the book block. And therefore, it's going to be easier to remove all the guts of the book where you just have the outside cover of the book. What?
The shell.
Yeah, just a shell left of the book. And that way, then you can take and insert your own pages into the inside of the book.
And signatures.
Or signatures, as they're called. So, how you tell that the book is glued. I don't have that book. It doesn't, there's nothing, you can't get anything down in here. You can't get anything, that means it's glued and everything. You can still use that book, but probably what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to detach here and just use the front and the back cover with that. So it makes, you'll have to put in your own spine. You have to recover the spine area and put in your own spine, which is doable. That's completely doable. And it actually would allow you to make this, say this is way too small, maybe you need it twice the size. That would be how you do that. Just remove the spine, put in your own pages, use these as the, you know, they're a great height, they're a great width, and then you can make the spine bigger. So that definitely works. But that's an altered book. That's basically how you would alter a book. You could take it and, like I said, completely gut it, or you can just take some of the pages out and then use these existing pages as your base pages. I prefer, I've done an altered book before, but I prefer to gut my books. Start from new, do my own signatures. That allows me to put in pages that I want. It allows me to give the best room for my books, to be able to completely alter them. I have more control that way as to what goes in my book. This is a hardcover book. This right here is hardcover. Completely, you can't bend it, nothing like that. So, and then a soft cover book would be one that you would use, say, an envelope. So you've seen these where on YouTube videos, if you've been watching YouTube videos, where they take and they fold them over and then they make a soft covered book. This would be soft. What it means is this, there's no book board in here. There might be layers of paper. There might be, hand me that, one up there. This is one that I've started altering. That is one of these envelopes here, which is a policy envelope. I've started altering this, and how I've altered it is I've taken and I've used just a grocery sack, a brown paper grocery sack, and glued it all over, and then extended flaps on both sides. I've cut and removed the little envelope part here, and then just on both sides to give a decorative pocket. So that's one that I'm currently working on to do, but this one is going to be a soft cover. It's bendable, it's flexible. There's no boards that are going to be in here. The spine is even going to be flexible on it. There's not going to be, like I said, any type of book board or anything like that in it, making it a hard cover. So that would be a soft cover. Okay, most of the material that you use for a hardcover is would be considered, a lot of people consider it chipboard. So there's a lightweight chipboard, there is a medium weight chipboard, and then there's a heavyweight chipboard. There's even chipboard that's really heavyweight. They make it in all kinds of sizes. This is something that I got, I don't even know where I got this from, but this is chipboard, but you can see how thick that is. It's extremely, let me see if I can, thick. See how thick that is? But it's chipboard. Not that you'd ever be able to cut it without an industrial cutter or anything, but it's just really thick. Most of your medium weight chipboard is about the thickness or a little thicker than cereal box. It's not much thicker than a cereal box, but it is a little thicker. This, for recycling, this makes awesome book boards. Now what I do with this is I don't use this as my spine. I make my own spine with it. The reason why I don't is that I want more room between my spine and my cover here on the fold. If you notice, regular books have a space. This is a space in here that's actually so that the book cover itself never bends. This is the materials holding the spine onto the book cover, this right here, and this is what's bending. Your spine material never bends and your cover material never bends. It's only this material in here. So, and then the book block is actually glued in here with end papers, what is called end papers. And then sometimes it has a material that is around the spine and fits onto the inside of the cover. So you see this, there's a little, it's hard to see on camera, but there it is. You see that little, you can kind of see it there. That's actually material. That's the material that's attached to the spine of the book block that's actually holding part of the book onto the cover. And then the end papers finish it off, and actually they help hold the book block onto the cover as well. So, but this space in here needs to have enough space for all that. So if you have your cover attached to your spine, you're not going to have enough room in here. As you start putting the papers on it, it's going to start building up and it's going to get really bulky, and then it's just going to stand open. It won't go closed because it'll just sit there because there's too much in that area. Eventually it will break this here and break it down. Now, if you're doing a really small book, you're just covering it once with paper, you're not putting a lot of stuff in there, there's not a lot of bulk or anything like that, this is perfectly fine. This will hold up, it'll work perfect, and it'll there won't be any problem, there won't be any damage to the spine or anything like that. It won't break it down or anything like that. But like I said, most of the time what I do, I will use this for my spine, but I'll cut it away from the front and back covers. Now, when I use a cereal box or any type of box, I usually use 2 thicknesses. And what I mean by that is I take this, and let's say I wanted half of this here. So I'd cut it in half, and I'd put the shiny sides together, glued them together, and then wrap paper around those to keep them together and to make my book. Now I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to in probably another video, because I don't want it to be too long where you have to sit there forever and then have to write all kinds of notes down. But so I'll do a demo of how to do a really quick glue it together, put it on paper, and make a hardbound book. Now, if nobody wants to make a hardbound book, that's fine. We'll just do a soft bound book. So, but if for those of you that want to make the hardbound book, then we'll do that with it. So there's a number of things you can use. You can use this from your cereal, from your crackers, from macaroni and cheese, the Lipton onion soup boxes, any type of box. I try to stay away from the boxes from the frozen foods. The reason why that is there's a wax coating that they put on the frozen food boxes, because if you think about it, when boxes go into the freezer, they get wet, and so this cardboard breaks down eventually. Well, they put a wax coating on it so that it doesn't break down, but that wax coating makes it hard to glue. I haven't found any glue that actually works on that waxed surface really, really well. So that's why I stick with stuff from Dry Goods. So okay, so there's the cereal box. There's other type of things that you can use too. One thing I do want to stay away from when I'm picking my cardboard is anything that has a bend in it. If I find one that's bent, or see how this one is wrinkled, so it's been bent at some point, a lot of times that's hard to work out. Even if you're gluing 2 together, it still makes one piece weaker. So I try to find one without blemishes. Now this board here I get from my local comic book store. It's the board that comes in with their comics so that their comics stay flat and straight. That's in with the shrink wrapped comics. They have the small ones and then they have the larger sizes too. They have different colors. There's also different weights. So, and we've talked about weight before when I showed you that really thick chipboard. And then, so these are different weighted too. Even the boxes, the cereal boxes and stuff, they come in different weights. Some of them are heavier than others and whatnot. So if you're putting two together that are heavy, of course your book's going to be heavier. When we're talking about a Zutter bound book or a bind it all book, something you have to punch, that comes into play really quickly, because if you're trying to punch through really heavy cardstock, that it's just harder to do. You can punch each individual one and then glue them together. It takes a little bit more lining everything up though to do that. But this is kind of a medium weight board. It's a little thinner than medium weight, so I usually glue two together and it makes a pretty good hardbound book. I think on some of these I've even glued three together before to make a hardbound cover and everything. It stops with the warping. And what I mean by warping is when you put glue on anything, any water-based glue will warp. It's as it dries because it has made something wet. Even a paste has a little bit of water content in it, so it can warp, but you can flatten it by putting it under really heavy books and objects for 24 hours and it'll stay flat. So, but this is the different types. You could get any type of cardboard or anything like that. You can also make soft bound ones. These make really nice file folders, make really nice soft bound books for it. So we've kind of talked about the materials for cover. The other thing is that you need something big enough to wrap around your cover. So like in a hardbound book, you need something that goes around and attaches everything together. If you're not doing a spine, as in this spine, wrapping your spine with a different material, then you'll need something to go around the whole book. So if we lay the book out like this, you'll need something to go around the whole book and cover over the top of it. These usually, with these, when they'd use the spine like this, they wrap this piece, the front and back covers, and then they put them together with this spine cloth tape. And this is a bookbinder's cloth tape. So that is available. You can find some of this on Amazon, but it's not necessary. I'll show you how to do it with just regular old brown packing paper. It works. The other thing that works too, and which I was wrapping around my softbound book, is paper bags from the grocery store. These work really well. I usually turn them where the color is to the inside, so I'm gluing this down again so that it's not affecting, so it's completely just brown on the outside. Now if you want another color than brown, these paint really well too. You can paint them with white, you can paint them with different colors, those type of things. Keep in mind though, when you paint paper like this, it soaks up the paint. So you do have to have a little bit extra paint, but you can paint it, and I recommend painting. You can paint before or after. That doesn't really matter on it, because there's not any shrinkage or any change in the paper or anything like that. So, but you need it big enough to wrap around the whole book. Now, if you don't have it big enough to wrap around the whole book, you can attach two sheets together with it, but you will have a seam on the back part of your book. Or you can wrap, like I said, the front and the back, and then take another piece of paper and wrap it around just the